What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show. And then your most recent one, I think what Nick was telling me about was you identified some remains as female. Is that right?
So,
and they tried to say that they didn't know if they would identify that way.
Yeah. So this is one of the first things you do when you're doing skeletal studies is you try to figure out the age and sex of the individuals.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? So male, females, and actually you do the sex before the age because the sex sometimes determining the sex will affect how you age the individual because there's some nuances of differences how males and females age, and also of course females mature faster in the young years, but and that has a slight effect on what the age determination is. So you sex and age the skeletal remains. So there's males and females. The sex is binary. It's biological. All these things we've known.
You're gonna get in trouble for saying that.
And so I was asked from a cultural anthropologist to, she's a cultural anthropologist, and she also looks at sex differences. I was asked to be on a panel with her and 3 other anthropologists. So cultural, then and me, and I think there was one linguist, if I'm not wrong. So 5 of us all together, all females. That was the panelist, the person who created the panel, Kathleen Lowry. She's in the University of Alberta. That was her decision. It wasn't, I didn't even know that this was necessarily an intentional decision or not. But anyways, anthropology has far more females than males anyway. But 5 females from me from the U.S., her from Alberta, then 1 from Quebec, 1 from the UK, and 1 from Spain. So 3 languages, 4 countries, 5 females. And we all agreed that the panel should be on binary biological sex, but we had different perspectives on other aspects, right? So, for example, some of them are concerned about the sex gap between males and females in technology. I'm not so concerned about that, So, the idea was that the panel's title was Let's Talk About Sex, Baby. Biological sex is still an important analytical variable for anthropology, or something like that. And we submitted it. It got accepted to the panel. The American Anthropological Association, there was a conference. And they were holding the conference as a joint conference with the Canadian Anthropology Society and what we call the AAA, the American Anthropological Association. And this is, so their annual conference, we submitted the panel with a description of the panel and each of our abstracts. So my abstract's title was No Bones About It. Skeletons are binary, or people may not be. I think that's what it was. And I talk about how anthropologists are very good at determining who's male and female by looking at the bones. I've done this on multiple collections. It's an important aspect to consider. And one of the things is a lot of my research revolved around trying to determine what people did in the past. So not only, biological differences, but activity differences. And there are traits that anthropologists have used to determine what people did in the past that always show up that the males are more robust or bigger. And we call some of these muscle markers or entheses. So this is basically where a muscle literally attaches on your bone. And when you use that muscle, it will create a marker or a ridge on the bone. And the concept is that the more you use that muscle, the bigger the ridge is. But there are sex differences in how bone is deposited. And so if you and I were to do the same activity for the same length of time, and then you'd look at our bones, your bone would be more robust than mine, even if we did the exact same thing, because of the hormonal differences that occur. And so basically what was happening was there was this great focus on male activity and saying, oh, males were doing all this stuff, and ignoring female activity or downplaying it. And so my perspective was like, we have to understand the biological differences, or basically we're going to be always saying, well, males were doing more than females, right? So that
Seems
was
like a progressive idea.
It does, right? It was for a long time a progressive idea. So that was part of my my talk, and then the other part of it was about the importance of understanding sex differences for forensics. It's like if you find skeletal remains in a crime setting, an anthropologist will go in there and determine whether it was male and female, if it's skeletal, right? And they learn this by looking at collections, right? You're trained in a human osteology class. And this is a basic thing to do, but we've gotten better and better at it. So pretty much throughout the pelvis is the best indicator of sex differences, which is not surprising because of childbirth.
Makes sense.
But almost the entire skeleton can be used to determine male and female differences. And if you use multiple traits, then you can get practically 100%. If you're looking at juveniles, because a lot of those sex differences don't come about on the bones until puberty, you can still use DNA, and you can be very, very accurate. So in a sense, this is, obviously, it's interesting to look at for past populations, but it's important to look at for forensic reasons, to be able to identify if somebody died, whether they were male or female, to be able to best identify who that person was, and then hopefully find the person who did the crime, right? Bringing closure to those people's families and so forth. So I think that the problem when you say that sex is not binary is that you then think, okay, well, we don't have to improve our methods because anybody who we can't identify as male or female, and of course there will always be times when like you can't do the identification because the remains are not well enough preserved, and so we get better and better. The more we study them, we could, improve our methods. But there will be people who are classified as unidentified, and this is just because we're not perfect with our methods. It's not because these people were trans or that sex is on a spectrum.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.